So we have a couple of speakers today. Mr. Mustafa Hassan from AfricaCERT, and he will provide two perspectives, and you will understand why. We have Sparky Koichiro Komiyama from JP-CERT. He will also provide perspective from the AfricaCERT community and also the global, some of the global communities in which he is involved. We have Ms. Setimbele Sango. You will discover her. She has breadth of knowledge across several sectors, but also with private and public stakeholders. So she will provide her perspectives. We have Ms. Brenda Atoa from CERT Tonga. Also a perspective from CERT Tonga, but also from some regional capacities in which she is involved. And we have Mr. Kalim Osmani from CERT Mauritius, also bringing different perspectives, both from the Mauritius side, but also from global regional organization side. So, as you know, information sharing and awareness between stakeholders is a defining feature of the cybersecurity community and one of the most important challenges. And you have heard that from previous speakers. We understand that no stakeholders can tackle that alone. We understand that trust, secure, and scalable cyber information sharing needs a foundational platform in which participants in the digital ecosystem can rely, which define the need for a collaborative effort to build capacity, particularly in low and middle income countries with respect to cyber threat intelligence information sharing. Now, what brings us to this panel? A couple of efforts started about 3 years ago to define what can we put in place within the African CERT community, but also together with the global community. So there has been a couple of activities conducted, training around information sharing platform, training around frameworks such as cyberattacks, various framework, passive DNS, couple of research. And then there has been an initial, based on some of the recommendations that we have received, initial capabilities that has started also around a platform that was put in place by CERT-MU, MoShield. Now we are getting to the second stage of the framework that is being defined to extend the service delivery, deciding on vocabularies, working on restriction meets. We have studies, a couple of existing practice, lesson learned, pitfall, and hence we are here today to learn, share experience for those speakers on what they have been doing in the national framework, but also through their various relationships in the different communities that they are involved with. So we have two big questions, but I will frame them particularly to each speaker. One of the questions will be around existing good practice, lessons learned in information sharing and management that support a timely and effective prevention, mitigation, and defense against cyber attack. and how law and regulation can promote information sharing nationally and across borders. So, getting back to Mrs. Atoa, as a representative of a national CERT and also a member of a regional cybersecurity operational network, I think you guys are part of both AfricaCERT and PACSON, right? In lieu of the question, what are the practices in your national framework on information sharing? And what are the success stories, mechanisms that facilitated information sharing within your various communities, as well as facilitating cooperation between the different members? Back to you.
Thank you. To begin with, I would like to share a bit of background information about CERT Tonga before I continue into your questions. CERT Tonga established in July, 15th of July 2016. So this year we marked the 7th anniversary of CERT. CERT Tonga operates under the Ministry of I usually say many names because it's shorted up MATEC, which stands for Meteorology, Energy, Information, Disaster Management, Environment, Climate Change, Communication, and CERT. So we're right at the end of it, so it tells how important we are. Just joke. Anyway, CERT Tonga consists of 3 staff, 2 males and 1 female. And we are now have the honor and the support from the government of New Zealand through a project called Cybersecurity Workforce Development Program, where we're able to get extra hand to support us. And to overcome one of our challenge, which is a shortage of staff. CERT Tonga vision is a safe and secure digital environment for the Kingdom of Tonga and its citizens, as well as a mission to accomplish, which is to coordinate and collaborate among established in the Pacific, first in the Pacific to accede for the Budapest Convention, first in the Pacific to be an operational member of the Asia Pacific Computer Emergency Response. Let's hope this will be the best and the last. Well, the theme of this session is about sharing is caring. And we need to look at the strategy roles of strategy or the role of information sharing in CERT communities. When we talk about sharing, and I heard from the previous session, they state the importance of trust. When we talk about sharing, it comes up, we have different questions come to our mind. Who are we sharing the information with? Are the people we're sharing the information are reliable? Are they going to keep the confidentiality of that information? Because the things we're doing here, it's for the safety and it's cybersecurity. And there's other questions pop up whenever we talk about sharing. Besides sharing, I think the first thing, as I mentioned, that we need to have in place is to strengthen our trust between our organizations and our relevant stakeholders or our customers. When trust exists, working relationship, the work relationship will be easier, sharing of information will be easier, and with that, for us, we have to establish a formal and an informal relationship with our stakeholders. And from there, it strengthens our relationship with them, which help us with sharing of information and having their support and whatever they can do to assist us, which is more helpful with our conditions of having a less number of staff and resource or capacity in place. I would like to share a good example, can be a lesson learned for us. Early this year, there was an incident. One of our ISP infrastructure got a Medusa ransomware attack. As I mentioned, there's only 3 of us. We had a plan ahead of that attack where we had to do a bilateral meeting with CERT New Zealand and training for the ICT staff of various sectors back at home. Well, once we received the report from the ISP, we contact our partners in the region, CERT New Zealand and the Australian Cybersecurity Centre. They managed to come over to Tonga. CERT Tonga lead the operations. Australia focused on their task of doing all the technical work and recover the systems for the ISP. Part of our CERT team continue on with CERT New Zealand with the bilateral meetings or the training. Having that, it was all success. Due to what? Trust. And having all your partners trust, you trust them, they trust you, and I think it makes the work more easier. Because I know sometimes if we don't have the trust, it's hard to share the information and the work will be delayed for a long period of time. Well, that's how we do things at home, but it's the same things happen in the region. We're so lucky that we have Baxon in place that get at all the Pacific Island countries, and with that, whenever an incident happens, we can call on to each other. It's a space of build our capacity together, sharing of informations, and I think our monthly update and all the events happen, it really is making us closer and make things easier. Maybe it's because who you know, who you trust. And the more you get it together, the more you have that trust in place and everything will be flow smoothly. I think I'll have to finish off with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I heard a couple of things. Trust, the power of the community, stakeholders, and some kind of relationship that are built to help the information flow move around. So to get back to you, Engineer Hazem, from your perspective, AfricaCERT, first of all, you have been involved for a long time, I think since 2015, in assisting other African countries to establish their capabilities. I understand that you publish a couple of reports that you circulate around. Will you share with us the element of that report and the action which are taking for an effective engagement with the audience that you talk to? And are there any specific experience that you want to bring up to light? Up to you.
Okay, that was really insightful. So let me give you a brief about the information sharing we have in Egypt. Okay, whenever information is meant to be shared, it goes in a process of generalization, which means that it used to be sent by fax to the Council of Ministries, starting from the Council of Ministries, one layer down to all the ministries, and then all the way down to the affiliated bodies and the governmental entities. Actually, that was not used anymore, since this is an old technique, and Egypt now has about 27 governments. So that's why we have to make use of something else. So regarding the elements that what Jean asking about is how to distribute the information correctly to the governmental entities. Also, we receive the feeds from the portals, such as shadow servers and Kaspersky Lab feeds, and how to make sure that these IPs are in one or more of our governmental entities. Mainly the feeds contains malicious IPs in making traffic either incoming or outgoing. So we have no criteria in the past, but I will tell you how did we overcome this problem. Also, how to make sure that patching is applied successfully whenever anything happens. Okay, shall I go with the... Okay, the current phase we are using right now is the FPMS, which is the Focal Point Management System. It actually, we can conclude it in a portal made by the AfricaCERT, and all the governments must log into this portal, providing some information like point of contact, contact person, name, email, mobile number, and two types of data, the type of database they are using, so we can conclude this up. And the most important piece of information here is the range of the static IPs they are using. Followed by filling all the sub-governmental entities, and of course a backup contact in case the first contact is unavailable. And with using the Excel or some macros, we are able to identify or differentiate from the feeds the malicious IPs that comes from the feeds through the governmental entities. And regarding these IPs, we use we usually send them to the ISPs, Internet Service Provider, as Atoa said, to take the proper action to block these IPs. Okay. Whenever security update, using this portal, the FTMS, Focal Point Management System, whenever security update is announced, we tend to communicate to these governmental entities via all the available means of communication. This action is done by the AfricaCERT right now, and actually the incident response team. Thank you. Yes.
So thank you, Engineer Hassan. I will add to what you, anyway, I'm taking notes for what we are trying to build, but I heard from what you say, stakeholders profile or participant profile, okay? I will move to Ms. Sintibele. Since you have a diverse experience of different sectors, we would like to understand from you how the information sharing can happen in those specific sectors, if there are some specificity, depending on the sectors, to take into consideration, and also across sectors in terms of mechanism, and also if there are some regulatory consideration that we need to take early on into our planning process. Up to you.
All right, thank you. So let me start with the theme itself, which is sharing is caring. I totally agree with that. Collaboration is the new currency, especially in the cyberspace. I mean, cyber criminals are working together. You know there's ransomware as a savers. So why don't we work together as well? So working together, that collaboration is very essential, and I've seen it throughout the years. And in terms of different industries that I've worked in, maybe I can start with the banking sector, for instance. I know one of my peers spoke about establishing or fostering trust. That's very essential. When I was working for the bank, you'll find that if, for instance, the Reserve Bank is in the room, people were unable to express, for instance, their issues because they were concerned about the presence of the regulator. So it's important to establish clear policies and procedures on information sharing. In other words, not even the regulator is allowed to use that information to punish those who have shared the information. So clear protocols are very important, even in terms of making sure that that information is shared in a secured manner. That's very important. There are tools that can be used. There are clear protocols, for instance, TXI and MEXI can be used to properly share information in a secure manner, and consistently so. Not just, it shouldn't be a once-off exercise, it should be done in a consistent manner. Timely sharing of the information is very fundamental. I remember at some point when the CERT was established, you'll find that due to internal processes that take time, they are unable to share the information timelessly. By the time they share information, you'll find that maybe, for instance, the vendors have already shared that information. So the constituency won't see the value of the CERT if you don't share the information timelessly. So that timeless sharing information is very, very fundamental. And nowadays, we even have AI and machine learning. We know that in the cybersecurity space, we have a problem with the resources. So it's important to leverage on automation so that you can make sure that when you share that information, organizations are able to respond in the early phases of the cyber kill chain. If you look at the most companies that have been hacked, they're hacked because they only respond in the later phases of the cyber kill chain. So it's very important to make sure that the processes that are put in place enable you to respond timelessly and also inform your constituency timely, all right? There's an analogy that I like to make that says, if you're bitten by the snake, you need to make sure that you know what snake bit you as early as possible so that you can administer the right antivenom before the poison reaches your critical organs. Because once the poison reaches your critical organ, you're dead. Same thing applies with regards to information sharing. If it's not shared in a timeless manner, by the time it's shared, you find that whatever malicious activity that is happening in the environment has already gained access to your critical systems, and by then it's too late. Something that could have been blocked in the early phases has now become a major cyber breach. Yeah, so an incident cannot be avoided, but it's very important to make sure that when it happens, it is blocked timelessly. And that we need to bear that in mind as we develop the CSET. And then we also spoke about fostering trust. I spoke about the fact that when I was working for the bank, it was difficult for the banks to trust the Reserve Bank because they saw Reserve Bank as a policeman, and as a result, it became difficult to share the information. So there was a solution to make sure that there are meetings that are held without the regulator in the room. But that only solved half of the problem because the banks also realized that, okay, we have competitors in the room and we can't share too much detail because other banks might take in a competitive advantage over the weaknesses that we have in the system. So that is why earlier on I spoke about the importance of making sure that you filter or you have proper information security policies and procedures and make sure that each and every stakeholder comply to those policies and procedures. Another very important fact is to collaborate with the relevant stakeholders in terms of public-private partnerships. I remember when I was working for the Department of Communications in the early years of my career, we collaborated with Carnegie Mellon University. They came all the way. They conducted training because we wanted to establish a CSET. They conducted training for us and made it a point that we understand what needs to be done A to Z. Obviously, the decisions were supposed to be made by the organization. They didn't make decisions for us, but they guided us based on what they've seen out there. So that collaboration, leveraging on what other people have done in the past helps so that you don't reinvent the wheel. So currently, we do have a national CSET. It is actually done by Postal Services and Department of Communication. It was mandated by the National Cybersecurity Framework back in 2012. But the CSET itself was then formally established in 2015. So in my view, the CSET, yes, is there, but it's not operating at an optimal level. And the reason behind that is because the services that have been chosen are too much. Like, when you start with the process, make it a point that the services that you select are not too much. Like, start with the low-hanging fruit and make it a point that when you deliver those services, whether it's information sharing, you are able to deliver those services timelessly and you are able to establish that trust between you and your stakeholders. Because if you just bombard yourself with lots of services, you are not able to deliver all those services. And as a result, you lose trust from your services or stakeholders. That's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tibele. A couple of note-taking from your comments. Trust coming back, policy, process, and ensuring timely delivery. Thank you for that. Mr. Koichiro, both from GPCERT perspective, but also from AfricaCERT perspective. So first of all, I would like to understand what's happened from the GPCERT side. But From that side, moving also from the AfricaCERT, my understanding is that from the Asia-Pacific Computer Emergency Response Team region, there is a functional information sharing working group. And my question to you is, if you can share the activities that are, for example, conducted in such a working group that brings together several stakeholders across several national borders, and how those stakeholders are able to establish that kind of working group that deliver results. That would be my first question to you. My second question to you will be to understand if there are any confidence building measures on information sharing that have been put in place or that we can put in place, and could you explain the engagement of members in that process? Thank you.
Thank you, Jean Robert. Thank you, Jean Robert, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Koichiro Sparky. I'm from both JP-CERT and AP-CERT. Microphone, okay. I should keep this distance. I think it's okay, it's fine. So I think, I've been working with AfricaCERT since the beginning, or even before AfricaCERT was established, and we are good friends. So I'm here to warn you, or to give a heads up, that regional CCERT collaboration can be very, very tricky and complicated, maybe in next few years, with providing what is happening at the AP-CERT right now. AP-CERT, it is a regional CCERT cooperation framework. It is currently 33 CCERT team from 24 Asia-Pacific countries. They are the member of AP-CERT. And mostly they are the national CCERTs of respective Asia-Pacific economies. Current leadership is, it is chaired by Korea CERT, and Malaysia is the deputy chair, and we have 7 steering committee members, including Japan, JP-CERT, Sri Lanka CERT, cybersecurity, Malaysia, ACSC, Australia, CN-CERT, China, TWN CERT from Taiwan. I think I already list all the 7 steering committee members. So that's the member of the AP-CERT leadership right now. I first need to explain there's a clear motivation or clear benefit for regional collaboration. Give you an example. For example, it is almost 15 years ago. There's a Microsoft Windows vulnerability, which can only be exploitable on Windows operating system running with double byte character code. So if your Windows display process the Japanese characters, Chinese characters, your Windows is vulnerable. In those cases, as you might understand, there's a need for our region to share how to fix the problem internally, and there's no benefit for sharing that type of information with someone speaking in English or French. And then also, talking about the DDoS attack or large-scale network-based attack, even despite the fact the internet is pretty global, we see more attacks from our neighboring country. Taking spam, for example, we see most of them, for Japan, most of them coming from Taiwan, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, from our neighbors. We see some coming from, for example, Western Africa or Brazil, but the portion or the percentage, the majority are coming from our neighboring country, and that made us realize that we need a regional collaboration platform like AP-CERT. So since 2002, we establish the regional CCERT cooperation, And then again, currently we have like 33 members for AfricaCERT. What we do, we have annual general meeting. We also have a annual AfricaCERT incident drill. So we have we host an annual exercise for our AfricaCERT members with inviting several OIC AfricaCERT members. I guess EGCERT has been regular participants for AfricaCERT drill. So it's not only for exclusive for AfricaCERT members, but we invite teams outside the region as well, because we need to coordinate with teams in Egypt as well. Now I'd like to explain a few challenges we have right now. So we cannot be completely detached from the politics and the fears or the very political climate which is becoming more and more competitive. Of course, talking about Asia, we have big country China sitting in the center of everything. Not everything, but in most cases, they are the giant. If, for example, AfricaCERT would like to establish an information sharing system, and you may want to use Slack, because it's a widely acceptable instant messaging tool. But Slack, the usage of Slack is not at least welcomed by Chinese government officials. So Slack is out of your choice. You need to have something else, because it's AfricaCERT. You need to have Chinese colleagues. You need to have Singaporean. You need to have Australian colleagues. So any tool can be acceptable or usable to any of these very diverse constituents. And then another thing I spend most of the time for us few months is Taiwan or Chinese Taipei is the member of AfricaCERT since the beginning. And now you can easily imagine how Beijing react. Taiwan's a member of this group. So I like to make sure that the best balance in the AfricaCERT community, we want CNCERT in China be with us, because I think it's a valuable confidence building measure which we can carry on. We need to talk to Chinese colleagues because we need them. However, so we don't want them to, to drop off from AfricaCERT. We want CNCERT to work with us for in the future as well. So I'd like to make sure what we do is acceptable to China, to Taiwan, and to Australia, to Japan, to many of us. And in the past, it was not that difficult, but these days, for example, we recently we expanded the membership. Before, it was only for national CERTs, but we decided, because most of the private sector, the role of private sector is critical, so open up the membership to private sector maybe 10 years ago. So Microsoft, Panasonic, Dell SecureWorks, they are the corporate partner of AfricaCERT. And we recently got a new corporate partner, Huawei. I'm excited about the expansion of the community, and of course it is what we're supposed to do for maintaining the regional collaboration mechanism. But you can guess, or you may imagine how it is delicate to handle all these membership application and others. That's the most difficult part. And we also, this is a good news. AfricaCERT is not the only regional CERT collaboration. We have PACSON, we have AfricaCERT, we have many other forum at Latin America as well, TFC CERT in Europe. So, and then these days, OIC CERT for Islamic member states seems to be very, very active for their regional cooperation. So we are not alone in maintaining the balance in the community, and you know, together with other regional CSET forum, we have a very close contact, for example, with AfricaCERT, with OIC CERT. So at least we are not alone, and I think I'd like to stop here. What else should I say? I'm sorry. And one final thing is, currently the several ASEAN member states are trying to establish regional cooperation for ASEAN member states. So I think for next year, what AfricaCERT should do is to engage with newly established ASEAN mechanism, and you know, take advantage of each other, or you know, like to find an avenue of collaboration without not competing with each other. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sparky. I heard the need to find balance, taking into consideration needs, goals, aspiration of various stakeholders. Point noted. Back to you, Kalim. A couple of questions that I will throw your way, because when we came up with that idea to start somewhere, set MU step up with Moshit platform. So I will ask you to just a little briefly talk about Moshit platform, but also to add in your question, leaning on a couple of stakeholders, if you think that we should find, or there are existing standards that the community can leverage on while establishing that information sharing mechanism within the community. I've heard also a couple of speakers briefly talking about tools that can be used. So what will be your take and experience on that? Thank you.
Thank you, John, and good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank JFC and my friend Patrick sitting here for providing this opportunity to be the part of this particular session. And I think not only today, but since yesterday, we are talking about information sharing, and especially cyber threat information sharing. And here, the talk of the day is from the regional perspective, that how the information sharing from the regional perspective will be important, and why do we have to do that? So there are cases which my colleagues, they have just been talking about. So maybe what we are doing and what's happening, what hands-on, and what countries are trying to do that with information sharing, and how we have started, and how we're extending this platform, which we have set it up to our organizations within our country, as well as to the region. I think that's an important point which we need to discuss. And I know this is the last session. I could see the faces, and it's a very tired faces. So obviously, I'll be really short and sweet, so that we can pass on the message, and maybe after that, back to you, Jean. So obviously, like many others, even in Mauritius, we have noticed different types of critical incidents, and especially we are talking about the crisis management. So what we have done is when we saw this rise into critical incidents, and we thought we need to manage these incidents, so we came up with the National Cyber Crisis Management Plan. And this particular plan has allowed us in a way to be organized that how, if there are incidents of national significance, how we'll be able to manage that. And while practicing and then in a way simulating that platform, even we thought about it that good, there is a platform, but this particular platform also is only be effective once there is a sharing of information between the organizations and different sectors. And then this particular platform will allow us to understand the nature and the compromise of indicators or attack tactics and techniques, and this will help eventually the organizations in order to manage the incidents better. So what we did basically is that we came up with the information sharing platform. So this is a cyber threat information sharing platform, Patrick. And this cyber threat information sharing platform, basically what we did is that we made it like a one-stop shop. Why the reason is that many organizations of different, anybody from the public sector, from the private sector, critical sectors, small and medium enterprises, even academia, even the non-profit organizations, they can use that particular system. So what basically we did there is that we have provided a number of things onto that. First of all, what are the different types of threats you can have? And that understanding is important, because many audiences, different types, everybody is not a technical person. And in that pursuit, we have come up with these kind of information onto this particular portal. So is the information sharing portal based onto a MISP, let's say, a technology, and then we took it from MISP, we have integrated with our own SOC, plus we have take other feeds from a shadow server, plus again feeds which are coming from our data center. So we aggregated everything, we have put up into this particular Moshi platform, and then we have allowed and started extending this to the community, and this community has started using it. So it's still initially it's a new platform, but I think is very much received by different organizations. So it has this kind of information. Secondly, also it talks about the attack trends. So what are attack trends? This information is again available onto that particular platform. If somebody wants to have that, they can just go onto that platform and they can be able to use it. Then again, what we did is that we are displaying threat maps. We are having some sort of a health check tools available on that platform. And again, also, what we did is that we have provided a number of tools in order for you to, like, for example, a simple tools, open source virus total. And if somebody wants to check the infection, he can take the file and then simply scan that file and he'll be able to know. So all open source technology been used, and this platform was in a way ready and then is set up and is being used. And again, what we did is that since we thought that information sharing is important, because each and every country, if you talk of Africa, there is a different maturity and preparedness at the different in the different African countries. So we thought, no, it's a good idea for us to extend this. And then we have started talking to AfricaCERT, then we have been talking to SADC, and all these regional agencies, they have decided that, no, this is something good. We have to start from somewhere. And then they accepted that, no, we will, in a way, ask the countries to start using this platform. So what, again, we did is that this is a platform based on a membership. So it means that if somebody wants to use this platform, he has to be the member. And then we allow access, and then that particular member, or it could be a country, start using that particular platform. So that's pretty much how it works, and still we are trying to promote, and even any particular country who wants to join that platform in terms of their instances, again, this is possible. So this is a kind of a starting point, and we are building this community of information sharing within Africa and within our region. And again, the teams present here, even because we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and that's what we have been talking since morning. And whatever is available, we can avail onto that, and we can build up the community. So I think is pretty much around that's how this particular platform works, and it's being extended. I think the second question, which John was asking about the ISO 27001 compliance, and one component which I wanted to mention here is a part of the regulation, because this is also, because regulation means that the way it works in our country, so we have specifically come up with a new law, because we had a law since 2003. So one of the very first countries in Africa to come up with the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. So it was a cybercrime law. But again, we came up with a new law in 2021, and that law specifically talks about information sharing, where the different organizations can share information with the national CERT. So this has helped us in a way in order to convince organizations to come to us and then start sharing. But again, what we are trying to convince right now, because sharing is one thing, but again, there has to be a two-way traffic in this, because unless and until there's no two-way traffic, the repository is never going to be enriched. So what we are talking to the organizations and the countries that they also should post. So receiving is one thing, but posting is important. So once they start posting, then obviously it will be a really good repository of information sharing, and that could be much more effective. So something, we had that provision in the law that allows us to share. And the last point quickly is also on the compliance part, because Jean was asking that what is the importance of the compliance of having this particular information sharing, because I think we are talking since morning, two things are very important in information sharing. I think all of us, we know, but we need to build up that. That's what it takes time, and that is the trust building for sharing confidential information. And once we build up that trust, obviously, we will be able to go afar, and then we'll be able to share information. So, and secondly, what also we are trying to do with this, because since it was a new platform, it's still maturing, but also we are talking to our critical sectors, because it has been extended to them. And then again, what we would like to do that if this whole platform could also be extended to the critical sectors into the different countries in our region. So pretty much in a nutshell, this is what it does, Jean, in terms of Moshil, and then this is how we have been able to build up, and we're extending it to the community. Thank you so much. I stop here. Back to you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kalim. Again, I heard a couple of things: support from law regulation to promote. Yes, support from law regulation to promote information sharing mechanism. I will open the floor to the audience. We will take two questions in a row. Then the speaker will understand, and we have to be doing all of that in 5 minutes. Who would like to take the challenge? So there's no question. I will give all speakers the opportunity to say something. Oh, there's a question. Okay. Yeah, I know that in May, you told us in Morocco that you are not coming back here for some talk. Now you have a concrete solution. Now, go ahead with your
Thanks so much. Oh, it's quite. Okay, so my question was with regards to threat intelligence sharing. The problem that is there, that, yes, we would like to share, but what exactly limits organization is the issue of trust, because sharing, trust is the key component. The question is, how do we build that trust? Because I think that is the challenge that has always been there, that is a problem. The trust is built. Then number two, there are cases where, because cybersecurity has become a national issue, there are organizations, I give example in the banking sector, right, where the fear is always, okay, if I share the information, there's the fear of also where a bank, for example, they feel, okay, this sharing can also maybe, if I share, for example, let's say I was hit by ransomware. where does this information end, and can it end up being a situation where I lose, my reputation just because I shared? So the question to maybe the panelists is, how do we ensure, first of all, trust is built? And how do we also ensure that we do more level of awareness so that people understand that sharing, of course, as you indicated, is caring, but when I share, I also get value, because that's something that I think we're still struggling with. And of course, maybe over to you.
Thank you. Over to you.
Because maybe I can add something, Jean. I think I said that, David, that sharing is caring, and building the trust is important. And that's how we have done in Mauritius, because obviously when we started in 2008, we mentioned about the financial sector, nobody was ready to share that information of especially incidents. But again, with time, we being the government or the national CERT, we have been talking to them and talking in such a way that we have been extending the capacity building. We have been training them. We have been giving them the information which was useful for these sectors, and especially not only financial sector, but across the sectors. And it has taken lots of time for us to have that trust built from those sectors, that yes, the information which is coming is trustful information, and that makes some meaning to us. And obviously, if we use that information, we'll be gaining out of that. And that's what we that's what we have maintained. And with this, these organizations, they have been coming. And once they have been coming, and they have been gaining out of that, even that's what we said for our More Shield platform, because guys, look, we are sharing, you take it up, once you feel comfortable, you start sharing back. So, and this has started, and slowly, because the trust is not built in a day, it takes time. And it all depends on your approach, that how you approach these sectors in order for them to be trustful, so that they start doing it. So I think that's how we started. Maybe the other panelists, they can share their experiences. Thank you.
Maybe just to add on what has been said. So for your constituency to trust you, you must make it a point that you have the relevant capabilities as well. For instance, if you share sensitive information using clear text, they won't be able to trust you. So make it a point that you use proper, secure channels. In most cases, we use encrypted channels to share sensitive information. There are tools that one can use as well to denominize or to reduce identification of private information, not to reduce, to eliminate private information, so that the reputation of the company that shared information is not dented. And earlier on, I spoke about establishing proper policies and procedures to make it a point that the sharing and the collection of information is done accordingly. And obviously, those policies and procedures should be communicated to all the stakeholders, including those who are sharing the information, so that they comply to the relevant standards in terms of making sure that no one has got unauthorized access to that information. And even when the information is shared, the company that shared information is not punished just because they shared information. So when it comes to sharing, transparency and trust is very key. It's very fundamental. So without trust and that transparency, you won't be able to fulfill that overall objective. So it's very important to always emphasize on the objective of the set. It's not meant to be used by the regulator to punish those who share the information. It's not meant to be used against a company so that their reputation is dented in any way whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay. You want to add something?
Just to add what she said, I think channel is important. And if we have one-to-one channel, confidentiality is always maintained, and the trust could be built faster. So I think that's the one of the ways of in a way, convincing those sectors or the organizations to share information with you that could be used. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's give them a hand of applause. Thank you so much.